Hello everybody, this is Adrienne with Ascension Soul Coaching. Today we're going to talk about Harry and Meghan. I have not spoken about them for a while, so I want to get back into the throes of what is going on with those two. It seems like since they've had the podcast with Meghan, and then Harry and his court cases, and the king literally just ignoring him during his last speech, that there is some things going on, especially since Meghan went on her friend's podcast to talk about her business as ever. And when the one question was asked of her, what would you do to rewrite your narrative if you could rewrite your narrative now? And Meghan says, I just want people to tell the truth. And ever since she's done that, guess what? Somebody's been releasing the truth. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to see what did that response ignite. And we're going to use today the Once Upon a Time cards. They're the fairy tale mashup. So it's taking all the fairy tales and putting together, because of course Meghan thinks she's living in the fairy tale. She thinks she should have been the fairy tale princess. So, but she's done so much stuff to ruin it. It's definitely a mashup. Okay, it's a mashup. So here we go. So we're going to throw a couple cards out. I think we're going to do 6. We're going to do 5. Let's do 5. So the question is going to be, I got to take this one out. How was the public perception of Meghan prior to her making that comment? We're going to throw out one card for that. If you know me, you've been with me for a while, you know I just shuffle until they fall. Usually. So we just want one card. How was the public perception of Meghan, for the most part, before she made answered that question about her business, about who she is as a person? So let's start with who she is as a person. I said, how did the public perceive her prior to answering that question as a person? How did they perceive her? The majority of people. How did they perceive Meghan Markle before she answered the question about how will she change her narrative? So we got one card, that's first. And then how do people perceive her as a businesswoman and entrepreneur before she answered that question? Here we go. And then how did people perceive her as an actress before she answered that question? Okay, got 3 cards. Now, after she answered the question, I'm going to put the 3 cards here. So these are not natural tarot cards. I'm reading them as oracles, though. Okay. How did people perceive her as a person after she answered that question? The majority of people who saw the interview, or parts of the interview. How did they perceive her after she answered the question about the narrative, changing the narrative? Dropped it. There was 2. We're going to take the 2. How did they perceive her as a businesswoman and entrepreneur after she answered that question? Okay. And then how did people perceive her as an actress after she answered that question? Okay. I got 2. Well, I got 3. I don't want to do 3. That's too many. Let's just do 1. Let's answer the question. How do people perceive her after she answered the question? There's too many. As an actress. And we have 1. Okay, so it's now time to read the cards. Okay, so I'm putting on my glasses for this so I can give you a proper reading. So the first question was, how did people feel about Meghan before she answered the question about the narrative? How would you, if you could make things better or you could change things now, what would you change about your narrative, right? And she said, I would wish people would tell the truth. So the first card about what did people think about her before she made that statement, the card came out as golden, goose, upside, so it's reversed. You can see that, right? And it's aspect. It's how people saw her. Aspect is about how people see you, right? So they saw her as the goose who had the golden goose, because she married into the royal family. She had everything in front of her that she could possibly ever ask for, right? As far as being a part of that family. And she let it go. She messed that up. That's how most people saw her. Whether they were on her side or not, they thought, man, if it was me, I would never walked away. I mean, there's other ways you could do this and get your own way, but I would, especially that soon into the family. You don't just get in and a year later you're ready to do your own thing and tell them they've been there for, the family's been practicing what they've been practicing for, 1,000 years or so, right? And then you come in and you think in the first year you're going to change it. So most people think she messed up. She messed up. You had everything in and you just tossed it away. And the second question was, how did the majority of people see her as a business owner or entrepreneur before she made that statement about telling the truth? And it came out oven. Funny. And it says, or after a place is played, interrupt. So they thought, okay, so you threw the royal family away, you threw all that away, right, to go and bake. So people already knew she was trying to brand this as ever before she answered the question, which is one of the reasons why she was on the podcast to talk about her business. So they were like, you threw everything away to go bake. And you had a lot of interruptions in your business. And the last one is, how did people think of her before the question as an actress? And they had haystack place. So you see the little person sleeping on the money, sleeping on the haystack. Where's my focus? So they feel like her career at the time was over. She was no longer going to be an actress. Even the Queen had given her some royal duties around the Royal Theater, I think, when she was still in the family. When she and Harry left as working royals, that was taken away from her. So they're like, okay, your career's been put on hold, right, as an actress. That's what they were thinking, okay? So what happened after she answered that question? Let's pull these cards up. Switch these around. So the first one was about her as a person. What did people think about her after she answered the question? And we got two cards. The first card was bait. It's funny how these... Now, let me tell you, there's a lot of cards in this, okay? And these are the cards that's coming out for Meghan. I'm sorry. So, bait. Event. Right? So this is about an event about her baking, right? So that's what they thought about her as a person. She wants to go bake. She wants to be a baker. She wants to go sell things to people. All right. And then the other card that fell out with that was, after that, no one lets Snow White make anything to sell in the marketplace ever again. So after she answered the question, this is what people said, no, you're not going to make it, girl. You want to bake and sell. But that question just answered it for them. Tell the truth, yeah, you're not a baker. You're not good at what you do. We're not going to buy your products. Okay? What do people think about her as far as an entrepreneur? So this all goes together. It came out with 7 dwarfs. It was reversed. And it's this character. So she has no character. Okay, so... she has many faces for different things. Oh, there you go. She has many faces for different things. There's 7 characters in this. And they think that she has a face for everybody. If she's going to be on TV talking about her product, she wants you to think she's this particular type of person. Hey, I worked really hard to get where I'm at. There's a lot to become a mom and a businesswoman and a partial, maybe non-existent royal, and just being a woman and being a wife. She has a face for everything. And all she does is whine. So this is reverse. It's not working. You have a face for everything, and you have an excuse for everything for why your business isn't working, and they don't believe you. And the last one was, how do people see her as an actress after she answered the question? This was reversed. I'm going to show you it was reversed, but this is what it says, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, that day the seven dwarfs discovered that a spinning wheel and a spoon could make anyone's fortune. In other words, because it was reversed. Because you're not working at what you're doing, you're just complaining and going on television and talking about why people should be more lenient on you and give you more grace to do what you do. You're not making anything. Anybody can go out there and sell if they really want to, but you got to put effort into it. She's not putting effort into it. She's just talking, and she's telling people that she is the one that's making the decisions and creating the wine and the jams, and she's the one that's going out there and tasting these things and making sure everything is just right. And then to come find out that she's white labeling a lot of things, like with the teas. They found out through the metadata that she's actually got the link to, what is it, Republic Tea, and she has nothing to do with the manufacturing of that tea, not the make, not the name, not the brand, not the smell, not the taste, nothing. She's just reselling. And just like the As Ever wine, the wine she's trying to sell now is the same thing. She's white labeling it. She is not putting anything into it. She has not shown that she's put any work into it. So she wants people to have this victimized version of her, perception of her, so that you would want to buy from her, because look, I'm doing all these things and it's so hard, and why can't you just support me, because I'm doing all these things and I'm putting so much effort into making this and making it just right so that I can sell to my consumers and so they can buy from me and I can become rich and a billionaire, worldwide billionaire on my own, right? So that's what she's doing, and people are seeing that for what she is. You're a con artist. I wouldn't say she's a con artist. I would say she's a manipulator, and people see her as a manipulator. It's more so than that. So the thing is that you had everything as a golden goose. You gave it away. You interrupted your kingdom. Oh, I didn't see that. That's a kingdom right there, right? Right? Interrupt kingdom to become an oven baker, to become a baker. Right? And then your actress career was put on hold. Right? You put everything on hold, including your actress career, right? Then you answer these questions, you go on all these podcasts, start talking, and they answer the question about your narrative. Nobody wants to buy from you anymore as a person. They don't trust you as a seller. And I think the other one was, again, bait. You're baked, which means you're done. And also, as a person, they don't really like you, but they see you as a baker. You're not a princess. You're not a royal anymore. You're an influencer. There's so much she could have done, and if she just waited and played the cards right for about 5 years and let people know who she was, and she was going to put in the hard work as being a royal, more things would have been given to her so she could brand herself a little bit more. Maybe they would have given her a little bit more leg, especially after the Queen died. The Queen Elizabeth had died, but she couldn't wait. She never wanted to be in the royal family. She wanted the esteem, and she wanted the power, and she wanted the glory of being a part of the royal family, but she knew she never wanted to really follow orders. I told y'all that before when I was talking about my daughter. She said she could have married Prince Harry. This is when she was a little girl. She was about 11 years old, I believe, that she could marry Prince Harry. And I'm like, you can't marry Prince Harry, not only because, one, you're American, two, you're not white. She's half mixed. She's mixed, black and Puerto Rican. Two, you don't follow orders. So you're not going to make it. And everything almost said what Meghan is. So, of course, when Meghan and Harry got married, she said, see, Mom, I could have married Harry. I'm like, girl, I'm glad you did not. Because we see now that he is a weakling. And we're going to do a reading on him as well in a few minutes. But because the Queen said he was not bright. Okay, that's out of her own mouth for her friends. They just came out with that. So the truth and the things about Meghan, because she said she just wished people would tell the truth. So now they're putting out stuff about how the Queen really felt about Meghan. So it's really destroying her credibility. It's destroying her persona even more than it has ever have been. And I wouldn't say all holds bars are off, because people still are not telling everything, but they're telling enough that people who in the know that it's true, and that Meghan was more horrific towards the Queen and Harry than they originally let on. But I think if you knew and you were listening, you knew that there was a lot of bad things going on between them, and the Queen put up with a lot of things. And as Lady C said, if you just look at that one picture during the wedding of the Queen looking at Meghan, that should tell you everything, how the Queen felt about Meghan. So now people are starting to really say, okay, yeah, we had an impression of her, and now what we felt, it's being validated, because now she's told everybody, tell the truth. I wish y'all would just tell the truth. And the truth is coming out, and she's getting payback for that. Until she apologizes and humbles herself with the royal family, whether y'all think she should or not, I think she should. No one's going to support her. She's going to have so much adversity against her, or people just not going to care, and they're definitely not going to buy her product because they have no affinity towards her. They don't believe she's honest, and she keeps saying she's authentic. She is not authentic at any. Let me just put it this way. She thinks by saying that she's being authentic and changing her methods of how she's trying to strategize for her business to improve, right, and to connect with more people. She feels by just saying that that's going to connect her to more clients and customers and have a softer view on her, but it doesn't, because you can tell she's not humble. She's not into family and relationships like she says she is. If she was, she would have apologized and just made up with her father. If she would just make up also with her father, not that they have to live together and talk every day and smiley. If she just reached out to her father once in a blue moon, people would then maybe soften a little bit towards her. If she softened a little bit towards her stance to the royal family, which at this point, I don't think they would ever want her back. They can't trust her. They don't trust her. But her father's her father, and he would. That would give a little bit of inkling that maybe she's humbling herself. And although some people would say, well, she's just manipulating her father. But I think if she's sincere about fixing that relationship to a point where they could at least be cordial to each other, people would say, okay. More people would give her a break, but they're not, because she's not. She just talks about being authentic, but she doesn't have authentic bone in her body, and that's clear. So her business, she has some fans, y'all. She has some people who are going to try her stuff out. One to report on it, some because they like her, and some because it's come up in the queue and they that looks interesting and they order it. But she's not going to have a huge success with as ever. It's just not going to happen. And I can throw out a card. These cards are called Titanic. I hope you can see it. Titanic. And I'm going to throw out one card about her business. Is Meghan's, as ever, going to be a successful brand? Now we're in the future. I'm just going to throw out one card. Let one card fall. And let that answer the question. And that card just fell out. And it's this. And I need my glasses to read it. It says, Queen of Wands. Will it be a success? Now, in the Titanic, y'all know most people who were on the Titanic majority of people on the Titanic were rich, and there was a lot of people who were in third steerage who didn't have money. They were very poor people. But they also had maids and workers. So she has on an apron. She has on her wand. Right? Queen of Wands. She doesn't look happy. She's in the kitchen. She's a worker. So it's the Queen of Wands is love. Wands is making things happen. There's a love of money. So she's going to continue to try to sell her goods. She's not going to let it go. She's going to make a point that it's going to be successful no matter what. So to her, if it kills her, because she's not happy, right? Nobody wants to stay in the kitchen all the time. You just want the money. She just wants the money. But she's going to have to work hard for this to work. She's going to have to work really hard and long. And she's going to be a slave to, maybe not a slave, maybe a indentured servant to her own, or captive to her own ambitions, which is trying to make money. She's always going to be out there trying to work to make money. It's so if she's a Queen of Wands, but she's in a maid suit, which means she won't be as successful as she wants to be, right? She will work this. She will continue to try to strategize to make it work and bring in more products. But she's not going to be happy about it because it's not going to get the success that she wants. She wants to be able to start it up, get it running, and then to hands off, and she makes the money, right? And she'll hand off to someone else to run it. It's not going to happen. For it to work, she has to be working hand and foot every day to make this thing work. She's going to have to. And she is, so as ever, as a brand, will be there. It will not bring her the fame and the fortune and the money she wants. She will never be like a Gwyneth Paltrow. She won't. She will never meet that level. She will always be behind. She will always be serving other people. She will never be in a position of the queen, right? You know, she's not. It's just not going to happen. Queen of Swords and the Queen of Cups, she is not. So she's going to always be working in that second tier level. She's not going to be poor, but she's not going to be Gwyneth Paltrow. She's not going to have a $1 billion company, well known across the world or worldwide or international, whatever. But this is her choice, y'all. This is what she wanted. She went from being the golden goose to the working woman, working and slaving with the oven. Where's the other one? Bacon. That's what's happening with Miss Meghan, and that's what people see her. She's no longer the golden goose. She's no longer the princess. She's a working woman, like everybody else. She's going to have to work to make this money. And she ain't liking it, and she ain't gonna like the fact that that's what's happened. So eventually, she's going to turn around and say, "I wish I made different choices." But that's going to take a while for her to. She can admit it or not, but it'll take her forever to admit it out loud, if ever she admits it out loud. So that's what's happening with Miss Meghan. She gonna have to work, y'all. She gonna have to work. It's like you and me to make money. This is what's coming out, because people don't see her as this dynamic entrepreneur. They don't see her as dynamic actress. They don't see her as a dynamic person. They now see her as a regular, normal working woman, just like the rest of us. So anyway, that's my reading for the day. If you want a reading with me, you know how to reach out to me at ascensionsoulcoaching@gmail.com. The cards don't lie. It is how you read them. But there's always going to be something else to talk about, y'all. Life, relationship, politics, money, career. Contact me and we can talk about it. All right, y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Blessings.